system. Judging by the date on the watch and the time on my clock, it is a perfect Saturday afternoon. So what does a man have to do? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of the phenomenon known to mankind as Saturday afternoon's main event. Somehow you don't know who in the blue hell I am, whether you are dumb, stupid, blind, or just plain irrelevant. I suggest you go back to school or go into your local library and get the biggest dictionary you can find, preferably Merriam-Webster, and look me up under the word phenomenal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, the phenomenal one, and of course here on a perfect Saturday afternoon's main event, I'm not alone because of course I am joined by my co-host, comrade, brother from another mother, the one and only limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun, who is not having a hard time holding his alligators down. So guys, without further ado, give me 2 claps and a peep snake. Woo! There we go.
Yes, I tell you, first and foremost, I'm happy to be here every Saturday the same way you are. I'm glad that we are here. If you missed last week's episode, it was our 5-year anniversary extravaganza. There were pizza rolls and iced tea. There was coffee. There was liquid courage. There was back and forth running around. It was great. So I'm glad for all those people that joined us for it. Thank you for Twitch and Instagram and X and TikTok and all of the places that you will find us, and on YouTube especially. We thank you for joining us. And to start the first show of year 6, we want you to go ahead and join in for those 3 tenets that we always tell you about every Saturday begins with. And that is, of course, laughs, good times, and all the wrestling news possible. Loaded show, yes, sir.
Indeed. Well, welcome, peeps, welcome. But, of course, it is the road to WrestleMania. Yes. And from what I have known for the last couple of weeks, we are certainly not alone because we have our other co-host. He is certainly my uncle. He might not be the peeps' uncle, but he is your uncle. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you our beloved progenitor of same, the one and only Uncle Triple C.
Welcome to once again, folks. We are now exactly 2 weeks, 14 days away from WrestleMania. And now, as you guys are well aware, the greatest AAA Mega Heavyweight Champion of all time, my boy, the King of the Luchadors, Dominic Mysterio. Folks, I am still your uncle, Triple C. I am here live in studio because I am here to grace the people. The people of Saturday afternoon's main event. Of course, our 4th member, the great Mr. 411 Christopher Morton. He is not here, but of course, he is on the road to WrestleMania himself, and he is on the road to getting better. My boy,
Indeed.
My pristine colleague. Now, in case if you guys don't know this, because we are still on the road to WrestleMania, and it is forever under the umbrella of the Uncle Triple C era here on Saturday afternoon's main event. Now, before we get to everything, before we start the show, last week, the Phenomenal One, he had a very interesting thing to say. And if you did not watch Monday Night Raw's watch party. Let me play this for you guys because I want you guys to hear this. Now, you know, the People's Nature Boy, he has been through it all, ups and downs. But you know, that guy over there, the one that he called the phenomenal one, a year ago, I used to call you a piece of hot garbage.
Still
But
do.
this year, you're not a piece of hot garbage.
Why, thank you.
You are a deadbeat nephew. And in the words of Liv Morgan, you are a puta.
Oh boy.
Now,
It hasn't even been 10 minutes and he already has liquid courage in the system. Good grief.
Wow.
Well, why,
So
thank you,
much for that
Uncle
Thanksgiving meal, huh?
Sorry. Looks like somebody's off the Christmas card list.
Oh,
But
good grief.
in all sincerity, Uncle Triple C, welcome to the show. Of course, it seems like we have a couple of people chiming in from the comment section. Xavier Martinez saying, Uncle Triple C's, your favorite uncle's favorite uncle.
Your favorite uncle's favorite uncle. I like that.
Your uncle.
And he also said that he was there for the watch party, and he said that it certainly wasn't AI. I don't think it was AI either.
It was not AI.
It
You
was
got
not
that
AI
right.
indeed. And of course, you got the people saluting Uncle Triple C, saying, what up, Triple C? George Pierre in the cut, salute to you. Thank you for going ahead and chiming in the Saturday afternoon's main event. Salute to you, Unc.
Yes.
Well, with that being said, I think it's only fair that with us three distinguished gentlemen here, and it's a Saturday afternoon, I think it's only fair that we go ahead and get into professional wrestling, right?
Yes, sir. That's the name
All
on the
right,
marquee.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, we will do that. But thank you guys for going ahead and tuning in, whether you are on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube. Of course, you can follow us on our social media platforms, Instagram being at Saturday Afternoons _main event, Twitter being Saturday Main, and our TikTok as well being at Saturday Afternoons ME. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. Of course, when you hear this sound in the background, once this show kicks off, you know it's time for one thing and one thing only. It is time for Three Rope Talk. All of the professional wrestling news that you can possibly get that consists within the squared circle. Now, look, gentlemen, we're starting off today's show with the Raw and Smackdown review. Of course, a lot has happened in this past week. A lot of dumb stuff has happened in the past week. And of course, we will go ahead and get to that. But we start off with Raw. Madison Square Garden, sold out crowd of 19,000 Hulkamaniacs. You know, let's not say that. Uncle Triple C already has begun.
brother. Yes.
All in all, it was
Yes.
certainly a good episode of Monday Night Raw, but let's talk about a few things. Obafemi Brock Lesnar has officially fully kicked into high gear.
Yes.
Those men fully going ahead and going after each other. Obafemi tossing people around like they were literally potatoes. Brock Lesnar letting loose and trying to, attack Oba. Paul Heyman kind of losing his sense of feeling. How did you guys feel about that altercation? Uncle Triple C, we'll start with you today.
Again, last week on Monday Night Raw in the Garden, listen, they didn't even have to get physical. They already got physical the last 2 weeks prior to this past Monday night. Another great segment. Did we need Triple H? I didn't think so, but it made it all the more serious. So I thought overall it was a real good segment. The crowd was definitely hot for the whole thing. The fans did boo Triple H, was like let them go. But obviously, as Triple H told Oba, save this for WrestleMania. So I thought overall it was a good quality segment. Nate?
Yes. Oba is Road Warriors over. Oba is Ultimate Warrior over. Oba is Hulk Hogan over. He is Undertaker over. He is so over that I saw a clip that somebody uploaded from last night's SmackDown because Oba was not on SmackDown. And they played a segment, I think it was before the main event of yesterday's SmackDown, where they showed a video package of Obafemi strutting to the ring. And everyone in the building stood up and was doing that power strut that he does down to the ring and dancing to his music And just before they went back to air, they were chanting Oba's name. He is way over. This man is going to have a tremendous 2026 and is going to start at WrestleMania. Oh man, he is way over. This segment was done really well. They've done a great job in dialing him in. And to dial him in, you got to dial him back. They didn't need, as Uncle said, they didn't need to get physical. They didn't need to do anything. Just the hint of him being there was enough to get the crowd up for that.
I agree. But we're certainly going to be looking forward to that match when it comes down to WrestleMania in 2 weeks, hailing from Las Vegas, Nevada. But speaking of WrestleMania, speaking of Las Vegas, Nevada, speaking of Monday Night Raw, let's kind of edge towards the main event segment. CM Punk and Roman Reigns, another week of sought-out aggression. This time, Roman taking the beating from CM Punk. Peeps, how did you feel about the segment? How did you feel about the placement and everything that was going on?
I thought it worked based on the fact that the last couple of weeks, it looked like we had Roman getting the upper hand on CM Punk. But yet, at the same time, at the end of every segment that ended physically, where Punk got beaten up, he was laughing, meaning he knows he's getting to Roman on some level. This one was the one-upsmanship return. This was the receipt to what happened last week, where Roman got put through a table. And after all of that, we saw CM Punk get up on the railing and have fun with the fans. Even seemingly got into an altercation, so to speak, with one of the fans and telling him his favorite letters were the letters F and the letters U. He went straight Sesame Street sponsorship on that one. So yeah, it was really well done. It also goes to show you what the fans are locked in to this particular segment for WrestleMania, knowing all of the things that are going in. And I think that when you're looking at it from that standpoint, they've gotten this aspect of the main event for WrestleMania perfectly. Some of the other things we'll get into, especially since we know earlier in the show, we also know that there was some a rather interesting instance with Paul Heyman and such.
Indeed. And aside from Paul Heyman, as you said, beginning of the show, this is going to be our segue into SmackDown. But the opening, Cody Rhodes face-to-face with one future Hall of Famer in 2 weeks, Stephanie McMahon. Of course, they had a war of words that kind of ensued where Stephanie was trying to warn Cody and tell Cody that, yes, he is champion. Yes, he's the face of the company, but he's not about to be this version of Randy Orton. Of course, they kind of went ahead and went back and forth. Stephanie telling Cody that he isn't his father, to Cody kind of getting a pop from the Garden crowd by telling Stephanie, you're not your father either. Then getting the slap of all slaps from Stephanie, which kind of ended with Cody telling Stephanie, thank you for the war of words. But how did you guys feel about that segment within itself? Uncle Triple C?
Was surprised Stephanie came out. Yes. Thought the segment worked, because of the surprise element of Stephanie being there and, putting layers into this feud. Of course, what we didn't know was what took place last night.
Indeed.
I don't know if you guys want to. I guess we're segueing into that. The idea of Pat McAfee appearing, I'll be honest, I was actually okay with it. I was like, okay, I guess Triple H is not going to be the one, because that's who I thought genuinely that it was going to be Triple H. I know some fans probably thought Vince McMahon, don't know why, because obviously we'll get to that situation in a few minutes. But the way I look at it is like, okay, I thought, it probably pivoted and decided to go with Pat McAfee, and now we'll get into all of that. But I thought the Stephanie and Cody segment was fine, because I thought that, okay, we're leading to the layers as far as where the voices is coming from. Who is he talking to as far as Randy Orton? Well, now we know.
Indeed. Peeps?
I think, as we say in before, that both Raw and SmackDown were equal parts a really good show and entertainment with equal parts WTF because there was a lot of WTF on both shows. First off, the Stephanie segment, although well done, a lot of people are wondering, was she really needed to be there? Is she interjecting herself in it because she's a McMahon? Maybe there's part of that. Maybe the layer of having a McMahon attached to it, especially since it was in the garden, which she specifically stated the house that her grandfather built. So she made it intentionally known that that was the truth in where she was going. So there was no mention of Vince with a mention of Vince without his name. Like I said, he's Voldemort now. Mm-hmm. So it worked. The layers going into how Stephanie crafted this was seemingly as a person who concerned about Cody going into WrestleMania and how she's going to portray what she thinks Cody should be doing into the match at WrestleMania, because that current form could not beat this form of Randy Orton. I think that's what she was trying to beat into him to some degree. And I think it was heard loud and clear.
Indeed. So as we segue now into SmackDown, of course, we heard Uncle Triple C's thought process when it came down to it. It seems like he's going to dim the lights for a quick second. But when it comes down to you, peeps, and your thought process on SmackDown when it came down to Pat McAfee being the individual to be revealed as the man within the voices of Randy Orton's head, how did you feel about that?
I thought I'm conflicted in this sense. The promo that Pat McAfee cut was good. Coming out after Orton was in the ring and having this confrontation with Cody, that made sense to some degree. Then when he came out and he kicked him right in the crotch and then proceeded to go on a rant on the direction of the company and the direction of fans like me can't enjoy this product because it's not the same. And if somebody like Randy Orton is on the card, there should be no tickets available because they should all be sold out. So I actually think on some level, this was kind of like projecting from the higher ups, because as we found out, the higher ups are the ones that kind of responsible for Pat McAfee kind of injecting himself into this feud. Yeah. I've looked at a lot of online reaction through mostly YouTube comments and a lot of other people on social media. They hate the segment. It's matter of fact, it's been downvoted a ton. And it's because it's the connection to this feud. I think a lot of people can understand where Pat McAfee is coming from if they connected Pat McAfee to Cody in some way. Let's say 3-4 months ago, Cody was on Pat McAfee's show and they had something going there and then they left it alone. And then we have this happen where he comes in to get some one-upsmanship on it. That would make sense. This almost felt like it came out of nowhere. And I think that's where a lot of people think that this was either misplaced, or I've heard to the extent of WWE being cooked. I don't know about that, but there are a lot of things out there from this standpoint that a lot of people did not like about the segment at all and its placement and where it went.
Indeed, especially when it comes down to McAfee. Of course, you going ahead and instancing the fact of Ari Emanuel and TKO going ahead and wanting to have McAfee implemented into the storyline, which of course a lot of people are kind of signaling as, oh, then they were the ones behind the fact of Travis Scott being implemented into the main event of WrestleMania last year. All that kind of stuff kind of has a bad taste in everybody's mouth. Where do we go from there? We have yet to see, but that was the first segment of SmackDown. Now, as it pertains to the United States Championship, Trick Williams went face-to-face with Sami Zayn, who were then interrupted by Carmelo Hayes, the former U.S. champion. And let's just say Carmelo Hayes got a shot at the title last night and ended up losing. So, I guess we're not getting Carmelo Hayes at WrestleMania. Peeps, how do you feel?
Unfortunate. I think Carmelo deserved to be at WrestleMania. And the reason why I say this, and maybe Uncle, I know you've made your opinion last week known about Carmelo and the fact that not everybody can get to WrestleMania. My argument is Carmelo, for the last almost 3 months, has been holding the United States Championship really well, defending it since he won the championship on SmackDown. Having his rematch and then losing it the way he did. And unless something happens between now and WrestleMania, all intents and purposes, he's not going to be on the card. I think it's unfortunate. I think a lot of fans have felt Carmelo has been used really well up until he lost the belt, and then they've kind of forgotten about him. I think that the bigger storyline, as we've seen, is with Trick and with Sami Zayn, but also to build up the program with Carmelo. He should be on the card somewhere. Now, what do you think, Uncle, about as far as that goes?
Now, I am kind of like an old school fan. I do not read the dirt sheets. I don't read anything as far as social media, as far as what they're projecting and stuff like that, unless, of course, you guys or friends send me things, whatever. Now, I'll say this. Now, in that match, did Carmelo look like he got hurt? I don't know if it was legit. Now, if it was, did they pivot and said, okay, he might be really injured and let's let Sami pin him clean? Now, is that the truth or not?
I haven't seen anything as far as the injury being legit, although it kind of looked like it was the way that the match ended. So maybe they're playing that off as the out to protect Carmelo since he lost.
Okay. Well, then my other aspect of this is the other story that you're talking about, Trick Williams, but what about Sami Zayn? Clearly, Sami Zayn, when the referee was checking on Carmelo, clearly Sami just went, forget about all of that. I'm going with the hula kick right now and get the W because I have to be at WrestleMania. Now, we're heading towards a complete heel turn. So I guess I'm looking at it at WrestleMania, kind of like the double turn, where Trick will become truly a full babyface while Sami becomes a full heel. I think that's probably where we're heading. Maybe not at WrestleMania, but at least it looks like that's where we're heading. As far as Carmelo goes, again, I've said it before. I feel bad for Melo. He deserves to be at WrestleMania to have a match. Maybe we will still be on that road. I don't see it. I don't see any place for him now. But it goes back to what I always thought of and what I've said to you guys last week. So I'm piggybacking about what I said last week. Same thing like Bayley. Bayley, again, she deserved to have a match last year. Well, now she's getting it this year in a four-way tag team. Well, Melo, he will miss probably this year. I'm sure he'll be on the following year. It does suck. I'm not going to lie, but it's part of the business.
Yes, indeed. Understandably so. Now, of course, Cody Rhodes did have a war of words to go ahead and choose to end the show with. He, of course, I would go ahead and quote him. He did say something along the lines of, we all presume to have somebody go ahead and show up and be the voice inside Randy Orton's head. And of course, it being Pat McAfee of all people, this feels like if Kevin Nash and Scott Hall announced the third man in the NWO to be Hogan, and instead of Hogan, we got Disco Inferno.
Yes. Yes.
That was such a perfect line. Peeps, I feel like you can double back for the people and explain as to why Disco Inferno had to be the one to catch the heat.
Yes, he caught strays from that entire promo. And the reason why that is because it wasn't just something random that came out of nowhere. There seemed to be a little bit of legitimate heat between Cody and Disco Inferno. And this goes back to 2018. It's a tweet that Disco Inferno put out on Twitter where he was basically complaining about how everybody's trying to work good enough to just get a 5-star rating on Dave Meltzer's ratings board. This was the exact quote. Nobody knows how to work anymore. They would love to kill each other to get Dave Meltzer to put their match over. That's a problem that needs to be put front and center. Guys are trying to keep getting hurt. And Cody responded to that. And Cody was a savage with this response. He said, "Stop. You know nothing. You have drawn $0. No fan has ever left a show thinking about you. You were lucky to be a juiced up double lifer, quote, over with the boys type in an era where you hid in plain sight, coasting on others' access or success. Couldn't hang then, can't get booked now." That was Savage Cody. That's going to be the new one. Savage Cody Rhodes, right?
You know what? That's Raheem times 10.
Oh, yeah.
But all in all,
Yes.
as we move away from SmackDown, obviously the road to WrestleMania is in high effect. Maybe booking may be a bit from what we may not understand or comprehend yet, but still, let's not forget, gentlemen, there are 2 more weeks of shows to get to where we can go ahead and get the full stench of every single storyline. So, until then, that is our Raw and SmackDown review.
Oh, there was one thing, not to go too far. There was one thing that we missed about what happened on Raw, and that was the Vision winning the tag team titles on Raw.
Indeed.
And even more so, throwing in Seth Rollins and his confrontation, if you want to call it that, with Paul Heyman, which then led to Walter showing up, which that's the other part of the WTF that I was referring to, which was weird because it seemed like it just came out of nowhere. So I guess maybe they'll explain next week his involvement of why he did that with Seth.
Well, Paul
I agree.
is definitely not aligned with Walter because
Exactly.
just left the ring, so there's no alignment there. And like you said,
I agree.
They need to explain, or Gunther, Walter need to explain why he attacked Seth Rollins.
Yes.
Now, my reasoning, my thought process may be: look, it came while Paul was out here having to deal with Seth. We know Seth was going to obliterate Heyman anyways, but the fact that he was saved by Gunther, implementing himself into a Seth Rollins match, and you see the light bulb goes off in Triple C's head. Think about it. He just pulled a favor off for Paul Heyman. Now he's going to ask for another favor for Paul Heyman later on into the year. He's going to ask to end the career of the Beast Incarnate Brock Lesnar. That's my thought process. That's my thought process.
Yeah.
But all in all, we have months away from SummerSlam.
Yes.
But we only have to wait till WrestleMania. In the words of Triple C, when it comes down to the Knicks, he usually says one game at a time. With this, I'll say one PLE at a time.
Yes.
We're going to get there presumably soon.
Yes.
So let's hope for it.
You know, puta hot garbage. That wasn't bad. I will tell you, that wasn't bad.
Why, thank you, Uncle.
Yeah.
Jeez, man. But all in all, before we move to the next piece, it seems like the comments are kind of happy for you drinking. They're saying, Triple C, drink.
Thank you very much. Who was that? Pat Laguerre? Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Go for it. Just go for it. Yeah, hey, Chuck, it's a Saturday. Peeps, and yes, you can drink, my friend.
Yes, I'm allowed to drink now. Yes.
But all in all, we move from there to the world of outside of WWE, still consisting with it, but Vince McMahon, and this is coming from the desk of Janelle Grant. Seems like she has another new recollection, ladies and gentlemen, and this one ain't pretty. Now, back then we heard about Brock, we heard about Vince, all that kind of good stuff. Now we're hearing that Nick Khan knew all about it. He was sitting here waiting in the. How are you waiting in the boardroom while Vince McMahon is getting down and dirty, possibly just, excreting waste on him? I digress. First one of the day. But she then mentioned how he brutally would assault her while she was getting taken advantage. He made a bet with Brock Lesnar to use a toy on her that would just again. What are we doing here? But it's crazy because you would think that this would all come into the lawsuit months ago, or years ago, I should say, because this has been ongoing since 2023. Fast forward, it's 2026, and now we're hearing about new information that wasn't coming up in the lawsuit. Peeps, and You take care of this.
The crazier part about this is that a lot of the things that you're just talking about actually happened after the NDA was allegedly signed. So a lot of the things that happened in 2021, where the NDA and Janelle was apparently, according to the motion, she was, I believe, offered $1 million to, I guess, keep this within house. Also, there was the Brock Lesnar part of the situation where she was allegedly flown back and forth to meet Brock numerous times in New York around the time when they were trying to re-sign him with WWE after he had taken his long hiatus. And apparently he went under a pseudonym of, I had to write this down, Polish Joe. That was the name he was used as a pseudonym within text messages when all of this happened. So it's amazing. There was an understanding, according to the paperwork and everything that was filed, that she was told that nobody in the company would know anything about what happened between Vince and herself. But as you just stated, Nick Khan allegedly knew certain things about this. As a matter of fact, one of the instances that was brought up within this deposition was the fact that she said that her nude photos that Vince had that he was circulating eventually found their way to an unnamed WWE referee who had access to these pictures as well. So there is a lot of craziness underlying this suit. And if it ever gets to court and we get some kind of a trial, there's going to be a lot that the WWE and TKO are not going to want to have to get from underneath. There's a lot going on right here.
I agree. But I want to ask this question to Uncle Triple C. Of course, Nick Khan's name is now coming up in this. We saw what happened when it came down to Vince. We saw what happened when it came down to Laurinaitis. Does the WWE or do the board of directors let go of Nick Khan? What happens? Do you think that this would be enough for Khan to step down? What's the innuendo here?
I don't think Nick Khan will step down. The facts are facts. Until Nick Khan is really truly part of this, I don't think that that's gonna happen. We'll see going forward. I mean, I really don't have too much to say about it. I don't think Nick Khan is getting fired. We'll see.
All right. All in all,
this will have to all be litigated in court. And I think that before either there's some sort of a settlement to get this taken care of, or if this actually goes to trial and there's some actual testimony and motions involved, because this has been going on for at least now, as you said, since 2023. So Let's see where the rest of this goes. But it sounds like, based on all of the things that we know about Vince McMahon's past and a lot of the other things that he's gotten into and a lot of the cover-ups that have happened with this company, it just does not look good. We'll be able to know if this ever gets to trial.
Indeed. But speaking of things not looking good, let's speak of things looking good. In the world of All Elite Wrestling, we move from here to AEW, and the biggest news part of the week, Chris Jericho is back in AEW. Of course, the rumors that were seeming to be true are actually false. No room for WWE in this current day and age in 2026. Chris Jericho. He is probably going to be finishing off the duration of his contract that was probably frozen by Tony Khan in All Elite Wrestling, making his return this past week at the opening of Dynamite during their contract signing between Kenny Omega and MJF. Look, Jericho's back, and it doesn't seem like he's going nowhere anytime soon, and he looks damn good for a 50-something-year-old wrestler. Uncle Triple C, of course, you haven't dimmed the lights. So it seems like you might have something good to say. We'll start with you.
Well, first of all, Jericho returning to AEW, and kind of like what you said, maybe Khan throws Jericho's contract, for him to, finish off the working dates that he has. I thought it was a good move by Jericho, because let's be honest, if he went to WWE, he probably would have been, fed to Gunther and for Jericho to retire. And if Jericho has something left in the tank, he's better off in AEW. So good job by Khan, good job by Jericho. And I know we'll get to the ratings in a second. So it's clear that there's an uptick in AEW. Although this version, this Uncle Triple C is not watching yet. But it's a start because I've yet to dim the lights the last couple of weeks in AEW. So eventually, I may make my return to AEW if things progress. But good job by Jericho going to staying with AEW.
Oh, well, thank you, Uncle Triple C. Peeps Nate, your thoughts?
Yeah. I first and foremost, I am happy for Jericho that he is staying because from what was explained from, I'm trying to remember who talked about it. I think it was either yesterday, that Jericho initially was being looked at for the WWE. And from what he was hearing is that all they were interested in doing was a retirement angle. They were going to have him go around, do a retirement angle, maybe potentially do that and then be done with it. And I think Jericho probably feels that he has a lot left in the tank. Maybe not a lot in the sense of 5, 6, 7 years, but maybe at least a couple of years to be able to do what he's been doing previously. He's in great shape now. He looks like he's definitely gotten back in shape because he hasn't really been in ring in it's been at least 6 months. His contract initially was thought to have expired in December. So if Tony Khan froze his contract or maybe gave him an extension and we're not knowing about that, that helps him out. It's just a matter of the more important thing is that the whole entire learning tree thing is dead. That I think is probably the best thing out of this because that was killing him at all. Hi, guys. So, yes. Jericho, if they can find something for him, yeah. But even more interesting, they were in Winnipeg. Winnipeg being a huge Jericho stronghold. Jericho's from Canada. He's from the area. It didn't seem like they were as warm for him as we thought they would with a surprise. Obviously, they weren't expecting him. Nobody was expecting Jericho to show up on the show. And I think that's part of the reason that a lot of people thought this could have been done differently, because if they would have promoted, well, there's going to be a big name showing up in Winnipeg and build it up, they could have gotten an even bigger surprise, a bigger response, bigger reception for it. But what they did get, and I think that helped their ratings in general.
I mean, my thought process would have been that he probably should have shown up on Dynasty. They always do well with their pay-per-views. Can you imagine after the match with Kenny Omega and MJF that out of nowhere, Chris Jericho just shows up and he just stands there right there, dead smack in the center of the stage, just looking at the current champion? Yes. I would have liked that instead, of course, but things happen. We now know Jericho's back. Let's just hope for the best when it comes down to what he can do. We have some people saying that, he's done everything that he possibly could have done in AEW. I agree. But if the man feels like he has a lot left in the tank, like Uncle Triple C said, then why not?
You know what would have been perfect? If Jericho did go to WWE, he would have made much more sense in the Mcafee spot than Mcafee does. If they would have crafted that whole thing around what Mcafee did say about people from the Attitude Era, they don't care about watching this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, people like me. If close your eyes and think about that. If Jericho was the guy that was in that one spot that Pat McAfee had last night, would it have made much more sense than having Pat McAfee do it?
Being an individual that was a part of the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era as well, and a multi-time world champion. And also, if we have to mention, the guy who beat The Rock and Stone Cold in the same night, he
would talk ad nauseum about that every week.
But you see, these kinds of things, it would have made sense. But this is WWE we're talking about in 2026.
I know I didn't make no mention of this, but I'm just curious. When it happened last night with Pat McAfee, I guess kind of semi-shooting. Well, he was telling the truth, about a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Now that the reports have come out that Manuel had basically he's the reason why Pat McAfee got put in that spot. When it first happened, were you guys shocked and be like, wow, like this is cool? Or now is it because of the fact that after what took place, what we found out today?
No, funny enough, for me, Uncle Triple C, I felt like the minute it happened, because it wasn't like I caught a full-on glimpse of McAfee until he hit the low blow. And it wasn't until he hit the low blow that I was like, why? Because I had to ask myself the question, why? Because with every single storyline, I think we asked the Uncle Triple C question, what's the payoff? I myself, in my right mind, sat there saying to myself, no mention of him being back on television, no mention of him doing an interview with Cody Rhodes or Randy Orton, nothing along the lines of him going ahead and being a part of the WWE. So why implement him in? If there was any thought process where if McAfee was on, WWE air, that he was sitting here probably bad-mouthing Cody, saying negative things about him, playing the Jerry Lawler to Michael Cole's Jim Ross, then maybe, just maybe, the increment of me thinking Pat McAfee in this storyline, in this spot, being the voice inside Randy Orton's head would make sense. But you got to also remember, Randy Orton sitting there being on the phone, there were segments where he was saying wrestling has more than one royal family, which is why you probably thought Triple H. There were moments when he was answering the phone and he was right in front of a picture of his father, side by side with his grandfather. I, to myself, thought, okay, maybe somebody close to the family, somebody who has legacy with Randy and Cody. McAfee has neither. So my thought process was, what does he do in the end? I sat there and said to myself, well, what if he was sent by somebody? And then I was like, maybe The Rock. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole, because that rabbit hole within itself is already hell when it comes down to the WWE and booking. So again, for me, it wasn't like I cared. I genuinely sat there and I was kind of mad about it. And the cherry on top was hearing that TKO called this from the brass up, saying, oh, yes, put McAfee in this spot. So for me, it just hurt even more. In the beginning of it, the minute I went on social media, I was already getting messages from people saying this sucks, this is stupid, it shouldn't be happening. But when we found out why it's happening, it just made my blood boil even more. So I think a lot of people aren't mad at the situation because of TKO. They're mad at it because it's Pat McAfee. Because from what I hear, it's not like I hate the guy when he's on commentary, but a lot of people dislike McAfee when he's on commentary. And when he's away, a lot of fans voice their opinion on being happy about it. So a lot of people already have their issues with McAfee. Me, I never had an issue with him on commentary, but being that, he's implemented into the storyline, I just don't like his placement in it. And no hate on McAfee. We've seen him work with Adam Cole, right? We've seen him work with Austin Theory. We know that the man, takes delight into the business,
Kevin
especially
Owens.
when it comes down to the art of wrestling. Exactly. But just within his placement here, I digress. I just don't like it.
There you go.
I just don't, But all in all, it seems like somebody on Twitch is saying, this is TKO presents WWE at this point. He hates it. See, you to this world, welcome to the show, my friend. But
yes,
Uncle see you were about to say.
No, I was gonna say, I was like, I agree with that. With that person, what they just said. Did WWE not learn from last year? I mean, hello, did we not learn from last year's main event? And now here we go again. I don't think we needed Pat McAfee in this feud, but.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
He also says this just to add, a jelly roll and a Mcafee, is this the road to WrestleMania or a breakfast order? I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
I don't eat jelly rolls, but I need a butter roll.
Oh Lord. I tell you, looking at this, the way that this finished, and this will be my final thought on this particular topic.
Again,
looking at it the way it ended, it's that connective tissue. That's all it is. It's the connective tissue. How does McAfee connect to Orton and Cody? And my initial bat signal went up, was like, this can't be it. There has to be something else.
Mhm.
So we have 2 weeks. Maybe there's something else involved. Maybe there's somebody else there, and I'll leave it at that.
Indeed.
Triple H in
But
Cody's head. How about that?
would it be a bad idea?
Of
But
course.
will they do it? That's the only question we can only ask at this point. Will they
Yes.
do it?
Nate,
But-
what do you think about what about the ratings, Nate?
Yes.
Well-
Give us the ratings, peeps.
Ratings right now, AEW won once again. That's now, I believe, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in a row, and that's 7 in the last 9. So that's AEW winning 730,000 viewers with probably one of the highest demo ratings they've gotten, a 0.15. Whereas NXT did 572,000 views with a 0.08 in their demo. Last week's TNA, because TNA's ratings, they lag a week behind based on when they actually do, based on when we do the show. Last week's TNA, they did 256,000 with a 0.05 in the demo for them. And Collision's ratings, they did about actually better than what they did for the previous Saturday. Because remember, they broke up their entire show from 2 hours to 1 hour on each, the Saturday and the Sunday of the tournament. They did 576,000 with a 0.08 in the ratings for Collision. So I think what people are looking at as far as AEW's product, their eyeballs are still there. They're showing up. Whatever they're doing for their product is working. Part of that is MJF being world champion, and also the injuries that they've had. People are coming back to wrestle, getting back into having matches, and putting on pretty good matches. Like I said before, like I said last week, it's the order of their booking of their matches and so certain things that they should not be doing going 7 years into their company's history. But that's one of those things that they have to right the ship on. Dynasty is their next pay-per-view coming up. Hopefully they'll be able to get that taken care of with Kenny Omega and MJF being the main event of that for the World Championship. And we'll see where they go from there.
Indeed. Well, as the Liquid Courage seems to be kicking Uncle Triple C's ass, we can go ahead and move towards the other half of our show, which is, of course, our question of the week.
Well, he's really enjoying himself, isn't he?
It's Saturday. I can't be mad at him.
Yes.
Well, before he takes a drink, I don't know if he's going to want to drink to this. Jamal 2 Crazy Gaming 23 says, Dom sucks. Dom sucks.
You shut your mouth. You shut your mouth, Jamal. You shut your mouth. Because the king of the luchadors, he has a match at WrestleMania. And there's no reason that my title, the AAA Mega Heavyweight Champion, should be defended at WrestleMania. But he will be going up against Finn Balor at WrestleMania.
Wait a minute. Didn't you just 2 weeks ago? Did you just 2 weeks ago say that would be the perfect thing to do for him to defend the belt at WrestleMania? Now you're saying that he shouldn't?
Well, I mean, my boy, the king of the luchadors, has another promotion, something the Nature Boy Ric Flair has never done. Okay, he's never had 2 promotions, unlike my boy, the king of the luchadors, and unlike that deadbeat nephew.
Hold
He
on.
thinks because his boy Penta want to defend the IC title in some stupid ladder match, you're not gonna show my boy up.
At least he has the title. But I have to say, wait, you said something about the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Didn't Ric Flair walk into the WWE with the world's heavyweight title? I'll leave it there. I can look.
Listen, he went to another promotion because you know what? Because some guy in the suit did not want Ric Flair. Okay, I'll leave it.
But he was still champion walking into the WWE with the
The
world
guy
title.
that didn't want Ric Flair was a guy that was hired to run Pizza Hut. So that's all we need to know about that.
As long as my boy El Jefe is running AAA, we okay.
Okay, but Pokemon 52 says Finn is going to be wiping the floor. Finn is about to put belt to ass to Dom. It seems like everything.
Pokemon, I mean, to me, I look at it as like, you suck. You should stay in your damn basement. I don't really give a damn what you have to say because your opinion means nothing. But I do love the people. My boy, they keep the luchadors. The people of Saturday.
But the question of the week, of course, hails from Long Island Isaiah this week. He says, who suffered more on Good Friday, Christ or me watching Smackdown last night? But jokes aside, guys, amidst the build to WrestleMania where everything seems to take an unwanted and different turn, what's the silver lining when it pertains to creative? The silver lining?
TKO runs creative. Hey, listen,
that's the silver lining.
Whoever they want to bring in.
That's the silver lining, peeps.
I never thought I would actually say this, but I actually feel sorry for Triple H because this is the third year in a row that he's had to deal with somebody meddling in his creative. We go back to WrestleMania 39, and we know the first Cody versus Roman match, which was a really good match. I made the prediction that I thought that Cody was potentially not going to go in and win, and it didn't happen. And Triple H had to actually take the opportunity and the initiative to build and keep Cody hot. And one of the first things that he had to do was get him in a program with Brock to try to keep that hot away from Roman, and then put him in other feuds and put him in the tag team championships with Jey Uso to try to keep him fresh and keep him hot enough so that he could last until the Royal Rumble and then get back to WrestleMania. Last year, we all know going in with WrestleMania 40 that was going to be the case, and then initially it was going to be The Rock and Roman Reigns, and we know that meddling happened because The Rock decided to stick his nose in. Yep. We go to last year's WrestleMania, and they had to do the same thing where we had an idea what the main event was going to be. They turned John Cena heel, and they didn't then cash in on the other storylines that they were teasing with Cody and The Rock potentially selling his soul and all of the other things. So Triple H and his creative have had to go ahead and babysit some of the changes that were thrown in his lap by the people above him. And he's had to basically take chicken scat and turn it into chicken salad. And he's doing the best thing he can do.
So I guess the silver lining would be Triple H is still running creative.
And the other silver lining is the fact that WrestleMania season is almost over. So that gives him another full year to try and start what's going to be for next year's WrestleMania, which I do not envy him for, because they're going to be in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and we're going to have to see what they do for that WrestleMania.
I feel like that would be a good silver lining for Uncle Triple C as he pertains and thinks about Dominic Mysterio winning the Royal Rumble next year and hopefully main eventing WrestleMania. That's what's going through his mind, I can tell.
That's right, because my boy next year will win the Royal Rumble, and I will headline WrestleMania as I enter Saudi Arabia.
Aye, bro's talking like he's an addition to Dominic. Yo, what are we doing here?
At least he's my nephew.
Oh my gosh. What that came in out of nowhere. Yeah.
I digress.
You know what?
I digress.
I'm digressing also. That's two for one. That's weird.
Thank you, Peeps. Thank you. Well, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get down to our final part of today's show. Thank you for that question, Long Island Isaiah. Look, you want to send in a question, just go ahead and send it into our DMs on Instagram at Saturday Afternoons_main event. If it's that damn good, we'll put it on the show next week. But predictions for, of course, tonight's NXT Stand and Deliver. I know Uncle Triple C looks at this as like, the 2.5 to third, brand / promotion, even though he's kind of given AEW the second promotion feel again. But look, when it comes down to these predictions, right? We have 7 matches. Of course, we have a pre-show match, which we won't go ahead and get into because who's going to watch the pre-show, evidently. But when it comes down to it, we have a tag team match for the NXT tag team titles, the Vanity Project versus, of course, the Los Americanos, Bravo and Rayo, with El Grande ringside. Can we go ahead and give it to Los Americanos? I think I'm kind of liking where they're going with this.
They are over. I'll say that. They are over, especially since they started using them in NXT as a tag team. So I can see that happening, but the Vanity Project right now, I don't see them taking the belts off of them yet. So I'm going with the Vanity Project just for the sake of knowing that they've just been holding on to these belts. They're not going to let them go that quick.
Okay. Uncle Triple C?
I agree with Nate. I think Vanity Project will win. They are, yes, the Los Americanos. They are over, obviously, but it's gonna be a fun match. It's gonna be a good, probably opening match, probably. But I expect Vanity Project to retain the titles in some kind of cheating way.
Okay, well, as much as I would have wanted them to win, of course, we have to keep the logic here. Vanity Project is the goal for all three of us, going ahead and retaining the NXT tag team titles. From there, we move towards the next match, a singles match for the NXT North American Championship. This one, of course, might be divided because I'm going to give you my pick right here and right now. It's Johnny Gargano. I have kind of liked the resurgence, especially if you have watched NXT, guys. You have probably seen the face-to-face with Johnny Gargano and Miles Bourne. Of course, him saying, look, back then they used to call me Johnny Takeover, and that title means so much to me. And if I'm not able to go ahead and beat you to reclaim that title and hold that title, then, I have no business wrestling. I feel like there is somewhat of a resurgence project happening with Johnny Gargano. Main roster isn't the fit for him right now. I feel like if he probably goes back to NXT to enhance some of the talent there would be the best move. And if he has a feud going on with Miles Bourne for the next couple of months leading in, I would like that. But for me, I have Johnny Gargano winning. Peeps?
I actually have Miles Bourne winning. And the reason why I say that is because, I think this is going to be a feud that's not going to end immediately. This is going to be a couple of other matches here and there. I think that's going to be the case. The reason why I think that Gargano isn't going to win is because I think this is going to motivate Bourne enough to step his game up against a person who, for all intents and purposes, is an NXT Hall of Famer if they even start an NXT Hall of Fame. And I think that that's what they're going to do. And that's going to make Johnny Gargano want it more if he loses this match at Stand and Deliver, which will then further get him to where he wants to be out of this stupor that he'd been in. So I think that's what this is going to be.
Okay, Uncle Triple C.
Give me Bourne. I think Johnny Gargano, I hate to say this, I think he's becoming or will become the gatekeeper of NXT. Give me Bourne because Bourne has the upside to become the NXT world champion down the road.
And he is a Randy Orton clone physically. He looks, his mannerisms. It's scary how much he resembles Randy Orton.
Only thing is he actually can't hear voices. But I digress. Zing,
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. Yeah, I went there today.
Send all of your comments to Phenomenal One Care of Saturday Afternoon's Main Event.
But with this, we have about a minute to go. Let's speed roll through this. JC Jane, Kendall Gray, Lola Vice, triple threat for the NXT Women's title. Give me JC to retain. Peeps?
JC to retain. I think that JC could retain, but I'm going to throw this in and say maybe this is Lola's time. Lola, she'd been held up main event style to get that championship. I'm going to actually put that on there, and I'm going to say Lola is the dark horse to win this one.
Okay. Uncle Triple C.
JCJ! It's JCJ! She retains.
Seems like we have a JC James still in the corner here.
There you go.
Okay. Look, Soruka Zarya, singles match. Of course, a feud that's been going on for a long time with their storied history. Tag team first. Now they've broken up. Now they're against each other. Give me Zarya to win this match.
Same here. I got Zarya winning. I think she needs this win more than Sol does to establish her. And as also, Zarya strangely has the fans behind her because they can kind of empathize with why she's upset with Sol Ruka in the first place.
Indeed.
And this
Triple
is
C.
why I'm going with Sol Ruka. I think Sol Ruka will win because I think that the build to Zarya, because the NXT has basically built Sol Ruka, the main roster, back and forth. I think we're gonna go Sol Ruka, and I think here we go. We talked about the double turn earlier about Sami Zayn and Trick. I think this is where the double turn happened. Zarya will become face, Sol Ruka will become a full-fledged heel tonight.
Okay. Singles match for NXT Women's North American title. Tatum Paxley, the champion, versus Blake Monroe. I feel that it is the perfect time for Blake Monroe to cash in her chips and regain that NXT North American title. Although I think that you gentlemen might actually have a feeling that Tatum Paxley is going to retain. Am I correct?
I think so. I think Paxley's going to win. I think that she has a little more edge to her now, even though Blake has quote unquote tasted gold, so to speak, and she's desperate to keep this championship. But I think that Paxley is going to end up winning it and taking back the physical belt from her after the match is over with.
Uncle Triple C?
Finders, keepers, losers, weepers. Bottom line is that Blake Monroe is right now holding the North American Women's title. She will remain as the North American Women's Champion.
Okay, and now the last match, Fatal 4-Way for NXT title. Hendry, Saints, Paige, D'Angelo. Who do you have, gentlemen? Peeps, we'll start with you.
I'm actually feeling a Tony D'Angelo win. I think Tony D, with what he's been doing, I think that this is his WrestleMania style moment. This is his takeover moment. The way they've been building him, I think this is ready for him to win that gold.
Okay, Uncle Triple C.
I like Ego. That's who I think is going to finally become the heavyweight champion. I think this guy, Ethan Page, there's nothing really left for him to do in NXT. But I think him being champion and the other three guys chasing, I think that's where we're going to go.
Well, there are three men here who have held the NXT title, and there's one that hasn't. I'm going for the dark horse. Give me Tony D'Angelo to win and finally be NXT champion. That's my thought process. That's my cue. And that is the end of our predictions. But not only that, guys, because that marks the end of today's show. To everybody going ahead and tuning in on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, thank you for going ahead and tuning in on a perfect, great Saturday afternoons for Saturday afternoon's main event. We will be back next week for another episode of Same. Guys, fear not, because of course, come Monday, we will have another watch party for Monday Night Raw. And then, of course, later that week, Smackdown for Friday. The last 2 weeks on the road to WrestleMania, we will be having watch parties for Monday and Friday's shows. So be aware, be on the lookout for that. We will see you there on those nights. But it is with that being said that on this episode of Same, I had a phenomenal one.
I had the Peeps Nate.
And for my pristine colleague, Mr. 411, Christopher Morton, and for the people, forget the people, the greatest AAA mega heavyweight champion of all time, my boy, the king of the luchadors, Dominic Mysterio. I am your uncle, Triple C, saying thank you for the house.
And also, again, in the words of our great uncle, that's it. See you next week. Peace, love, farewell.